What's up? Adderall here in this piece. We got another one from the Stormcrow. This one is about a girl with no name. The Stormcrow has had several tales at this point. Find them, and maybe you can track the threads. Or maybe I'll just leave a link at the end. Whatever. The name of tonight's tale is The Challenger by Angela Granger. When I opened my eyes and my vision focused, I saw several blackbirds perched at the foot of the bed in a line. But one of them took flight from the room. I was lying on a quilted mattress of feathers and a red wool blanket was tucked snugly around my body. I pushed it far away as I sat up to see my surroundings. It looked like a bedroom with a chest of drawers for clothes, and a table and chair was in the corner. My clothes were gone, including the hooded cloak I had worn to conceal my identity from resonance troopers while hunting them down, replaced with a plain, long grey tunic. I had bandages tied around my arm, and the wounds from where I had been shot with a crossbow bolt and stabbed by a thrown dagger. Even small cuts and abrasions had some kind of light green, white, slimy substance covering them. I smeared the palm of my hand across them and wiped it on the sleeve of the tunic I was wearing as I glanced around and spotted my clothes on the chest of the drawers. I felt cold, so I reached for the red wool blanket, draped it over my shoulders, and slid to the edge of the bed. My belongings, a black iron sixth, my money pouch, and the signet ring from my mother were next to them on the dresser. I pulled up my knickers and slid the sixth into its belt sheath, and my other items into the pockets before donning the blouse and my tartan sash. My father's utility knife and the key were still in the close button pocket inside the sash. Another blackbird that was perched on the bed flew over to land on my shoulder. Hello. I reached up to pet him. Are you the Stormcrow? No, I'm Easley. The blackbird replied. Mr. Raven went to fetch the Stormcrow. As if on cue, a sudden draft of cold air passed me as grey and blue mists rose from the floor. A tall, weed-like humanoid figure was visible as the mist dissipated. They wore a crow's mask, and a grey mantle of soft fabric was pulled around the front, mostly concealing a dark blue surcoat and black leggings. It was the Stormcrow, the Morgan's harbinger of death that I had traded my name and life. When the Stormcrow reached up and opened their hand to reveal a small loaf of dark bread, the remaining blackbirds swarmed them. Each one took turns tearing a piece of the bread before leaving the room, save the one blackbird perched on her left shoulder the entire time. That one hopped over to the left bedpost corner. Are you the Stormcrow? I asked. That is one of my names, yes, the Stormcrow replied. When the Stormcrow spoke, the creepy hollow effect their voice had previously was gone. Obviously they had used a bulge trick last time, but the eerie familiar accent remained. If they weren't using obfuscation tricks, this harbinger of death was probably a woman also. I shuddered involuntarily, unsure if it was from the chill in the air, or the fact that the Stormcrow seemed even more sinister, with such a pronounced lack of distinct characteristics. Am I dead? No, you were mortally injured, and under normal circumstances, if left untreated, you would have died by exsanguination after being stabbed and struck in the chest with a crossbow bolt. But I accepted your offer and decided it was in both our best interests to tend to your injuries. I am certain you are still experiencing some pain. If it becomes severe, please inform me and I will administer an appropriate painkiller. I scoffed at the notion of needing anything for pain. My wounds from the knife and crossbow bolt felt numb, and my arm and legs felt sore from my recent running and climbing, but it wasn't painful. I'm a shadow elf, so I'll be fine. Who was this exsanguination? Not who, what? Exsanguination is a medical term for death due to excessive blood loss. I looked at her blankly. You brought the hobgoblin to the Phantom Clean though, right? Yes, I escorted Varric and Vera Zimlin to the courtyard of the Blackbirds to Her Majesty. The Stormcrow nodded their head once for emphasis. Wait a moment, how did you see the Phantom Queen if I'm not dead? I vividly remembered seeing the tall woman dressed in a dark robe with a white mask over her face as I was remembering things I had forgotten about my life. As agreed, you gave me your name and life if I brought the Hobgoblin Sergeant and his wife to the Phantom Queen's throne. I used my abilities as a physician and blade singer to prevent you from bleeding to death and brought you with me to the Citadel of Gloom. I can't remember my name. I leveled a suspicious look at Stormcrow. That's not unusual after one gives their name to someone else. It is my name now, the Stormcrow explained. Everything went white as she explained. Later, I would recall with perfect clarity her explanation about how a name is an intricate piece of one's soul, but at the time I didn't care to know the whys. I just knew the Stormcrow had taken something I needed, and I had to regain it. I want my name back, I demanded. You made a deal that I accepted, and I rendered the services you requested in good faith. The name is now mine, the Stormcrow answered. I will fight you to the death for it. You have no life to wager, Shadow Elf Girl. That is mine as well. Are you afraid? I glared at her in challenge, and my fingers wrapped around the hilt of my knife momentarily to ensure it was still at my side. No, but you are, the Stormcrow replied. I paused at her statement. I was afraid of dying in anonymity or being enslaved, but not death in and of itself. But how did she know? The Stormcrow drew an intake of breath as if savouring a pleasant smell, and I felt an odd tingling in my arm and the back of my neck and shuddered involuntarily. She was doing something to me. If I permit you to indulge your stated desire for a death duel and I killed you, you would die without a name. The essence that constitutes your life force would wander aimlessly until someone or something grabs it and eats it, or uses it to reanimate an undead creature or give a semblance of life to an inanimate object. And while I do have a few suitable objects created and prepared to house such an essence, I did not agree to our bargain with that outcome in mind. The Stormcrow paused and drew in another intake of air before continuing. And if you kill me, you still wouldn't have a name, so that leaves you with the same metaphysical conundrum. If I killed you, I would take your name of Harbinger as my new name. Harbinger is a title for my appointed role, not my name. And I am fairly sure Her Majesty is a bit more discerning about the individual she appoints to act in her name. The Stormcrow shook her head as she explained. I would kill anyone she asked me to kill. Oh, I do not doubt that in the slightest, but it is not a Harbinger's role to assassinate others. I sneered at the Stormcrow. You are the Stormcrow, the Harbinger of death for the Morrigan. You take people to meet the Phantom Queen whether they want you to or not. How do you think I accomplish that? You kill them and you bring them to her. I looked at her as if she was stupid. Did she need me to explain to her how to do her job? It is a rare occurrence where I need to resort to personally ending a life, Shadow Elf Girl. You killed Reslin's raiders and you brought them to her. No, you killed 9 out of that 10-member unit. And Soul Reaper Exxon Narsk brought them here on my behalf. Did I? I was surprised. Counting their sergeant leader and his harlot second officer, I only managed to confirm 5 kills. Yes, and your ingenuity and determination to defend Doomscat duly impressed Her Majesty. I was pleased at that statement and permitted myself a smile. I had an idea to petition the Sovereign of Corvids. I wanted to ask her something. You are in the Citadel of Gloom. As this is her domain, I am sure she is listening. Am I worthy of being your servant? I turned from the Stormcrow and called out loudly into the room. I consider it a high honor to have a supplicant with the loyalty and dedication you demonstrated. I heard a voice respond just before the Morgan materialized in front of me. The Stormcrow took a step back and did a courtier's bow, and before I realized it, I imitated her. The creeping fear I felt around the Stormcrow took a back seat next to the Phantom Queen. She was the most beautiful, terrible, and awe-inspiring individual I had ever seen. Her silk black robes wrapped around her lithe frame. She had a collar and sleeve cuffs of black feathers, a white porcelain mask that had red and gold lines along the eyes and mouth covered her face, and jet black hair spilled down her back. Red glowing motes of light were visible as her eyes. Her perfectly manicured fingers reached down to touch my back to signal for me to rise. Your Majesty, I would introduce myself, but your Harbinger took my name. You offered your name and life to the Stormcrow in exchange for a personal service to you. She nodded regally. Unfortunately, doing so severed my claim to your soul as one of my faithful. But the sacrifice of your name also cut off an avenue of power to Ender Reslin. And for that, you have my gratitude. Isn't the Stormcrow your Harbinger? Would you make her return my name? Yes, she is my Harbinger, but you freely gave her your name in exchange for a personal request. I cannot coerce her to surrender what was freely given. But my Stormcrow is clever and took what you offered so that it would benefit us all in the long run.